Hey, a blessed Sabbath day to all my brothers and sisters. It is currently the ninth day of the eighth month on God's calendar, and we're plugging along in this eighth month. And some days are coming up that I'm very interested in. I don't know if it will bring us home or not, but wanted to pass on some findings of a study I've been doing, and the study just keeps on getting more intense as these days go on. I find extra little tidbits. I love it. I love it. So I wanted to not only share with you the latest, but update you uh, on the past findings also, just in case you missed those. So, um, first of all, background on September 19th, uh, we saw a sign in the sky where it really sounds like the Revelation 12:1 signs are happening. Now, this is something that can happen from year to year. I've noticed it from year to year. The sun and the moon come into Virgo, and so we're always looking around that time. Whether or not this is the year, um, only God knows for sure on that. And so when we're looking again, and September 19th, we see that there's always 12 stars in the crown at the head of the Virgin, Virgo. Um, doesn't need that extra Leo constellation to do anything with it. This is all about the Virgin, not anything else right there. Uh, they said September 23rd of 2017 was the time because there was Leo with 10 stars or so many stars and three other planets that were up above the head of Virgo. So if we're waiting still from that year to be redeemed from that year, uh, from that sign, I don't understand how we could still be connected to that. So, sun clothing, moon at her feet, under her feet, beside her feet. I found out beside and under are do mean the same thing um, in the Strong's Concordance. So there was the sign, the birth of the man child. Now, uh, we did find out that Yahushua's baptism was 40 days after, and this is a study that Yahushua's baptism was on, I'm sorry, excuse me, Yahushua's baptism was on the first day of the seventh month. That's a study I shared on October 16th. And I shared that with the following information. That Revelation 14:4 says that we are redeemed, being first fruits unto God and to the Lamb. My question being was, should we be looking for a timing of first fruits? There's different type of first fruits: barley, wheat, dates, figs, grapes, olives, oil, pomegranates, wood, other things. I've come to the realization that it's most likely none of these, but instead, as James 1:18 says, we should be a kind of first fruits of his creatures. Okay? Now, Exodus 22:29 tells us also that the firstborn of the sons shall be given unto God, to God. And where do we see this occurring with Yahushua originally? If we turn to Luke 2:22 through 24, we do read that Yahushua was presented to the Lord. And when the days of her, Mary's purification, according to law of Moses, were accomplished, they brought him to Jerusalem to present to the Lord, as it is written in the law of the Lord, that every male that opened the womb shall be called holy to the Lord. And there's an offering made then. So sure enough, this was done exactly after the 40 days, on day 41, after the birth of Yahushua. Um, Mary was considered as being purified. And in Leviticus 12:2-4, it explains his purification of the woman, where it says that she shall be unclean 7 days, and then she shall continue in the blood of her purifying 30 and 3 and 30 days. So 33 plus 7 indeed equals 40 days. Now, Sister Sherry had told us that he was born during Rosh Hashanah. She said that if you look at the time he was born, it was during the Rosh Hashanah festival. The timing of the Feast of Trumpets, Rosh Hashanah just passed us recently. And on the Gregorian calendar, I show that it passed us on September 19th, which is the day of this sign in the sky. And so if we proceed 40 days from that anniversary date of the birth of Yahushua, we come to the 10th day of the 8th month on God's calendar, October 28th, 2020, and then through that day to the 41st day of when Yahushua would have been presented as a first fruit to the Lord. It would have been the following day, which would have been the 11th day of the 8th month on God's calendar. This year, October 29th, 2020. So, I then found out about his baptism. And that's what I was sharing on this day um, to add it to the story. And here's what I added. In Luke 3:23, it says, and Yahushua himself began to be about 30 years of age, being as it was supposed to be. We can find out that the word about actually can mean as it were. It is my belief that this means with the usage of the wordings began to be that his baptism occurred exactly on his birthday of the first day of the 7th month, the Feast of Trumpets, Rosh Hashanah. Furthermore, to prove this thought further, as was supposed means to hold to custom, to follow a custom. Now, Numbers 4:2-4 says, take the sum of the sons of Korath from among the sons of Levi, after their families, by the house of their fathers, from 30 years old and upwards, even until 50 years old. So indeed, 30 years old was a custom. This gentleman by the name of Ernest L. Martin says that wrote The Star That Astonished the World, says, the Day of Trumpets, this was the exact day that many of the ancient kings and rulers of Judah reckoned as their inauguration day of rule. This procedure was followed consistently in the time of Solomon, Jeremiah, and Ezra. The Day of Trumpets also acknowledged the time of counting the year of their kingly rule. Indeed, it was customary that the final ceremony in the coronation of kings was the blowing of trumpets. As we have shown from the Bible, the blowing of the trumpets was a sign that the kings could then begin to rule. So, in a roundabout way, Yahushua's baptism on the Feast of Trumpets at the exact age of his birth date of 30 was his inauguration into the priesthood. And what a day for Yahuwah to then say, this is my beloved Son in whom I am well pleased. Now, if we see a correlation there, what I then see is that he spent 40 days and nights in the wilderness. We then see on the 41st day, Matthew 4:17 says, from that time Yahushua began to preach and to say, repent, for the kingdom of heaven is at hand. His ministry actually started then. So, yes. And we could be seeing also in Luke 3:7, it said, it was a warning. O generation of vipers, it says, who hath warned you to flee the wrath to come? So not only would the redeemed come home, but his wrath would start. Now, Sister Sherry has also said that we are his priesthood. We rule, reign with him during the millennial reign. We are his priests during the millennial reign. This is what Revelation 1:6 tells us when it says, he hath made us kings and priests unto God and his Father. Maybe we'll actually be inaugurated also by Yahushua. Yahuwah at such a time in history as it shows that Yahushua was. So that was the last part. Again, I told you I keep on searching for more tidbits. Here we go. Here's the latest. And this is what I was working on today, the Sabbath day. Haven't actually posted this yet, so I just had this on my page. Still only me, but since I'm recording it, you're the first to see it now. Knowing that he was born during Rosh Hashanah, Sister Sherry had said he was born during Rosh Hashanah. Rosh Hashanah kind of floats and rotates. I read in my research years ago that they believe Adam and Eve were created on October 2nd. And that Yahushua was also born on October 2nd. So I took that she said and started doing some research of my own on Adam and Eve, and here's some interesting information. First of all, we need to have a little bit of background on what truly a Jubilee is. Many say that Jubilees is 50 years. Jubilee, you actually celebrate the Jubilee year during the 50th year, but that's actually the first year of the next Jubilee. Jubilees are actually 49 years, and that's what I found out. That's a lesson that I wanted to show you here. As we can see in Jubilees 10:15 through 16, it says, Noah slept with his fathers. He was buried on Mount Lubar in the land of Ararat. 950 years he completed in his life. 19 Jubilees in 2 weeks in 5 years. Well, if you do 19 times 50, you don't get this number, 950 years. But you need to, it's 19 times 49 equaling 931 years. The easiest bet is to then add the 5 years to that 931, making it 936, and then 14 more years, making it 950. That's how many years Jubilee is. It's 49 years, not 50. So, then we want to turn to Jubilees 3:8, 15 and 15 through 17, where it says, in the first week, Adam was created, and the rib and his wife, and the rib and his wife, yes. That was the first week. And in the first week of the first Jubilee, which, as we find out now, would have been the start of the 50th year. Okay, see how that works? Adam and his wife were in the Garden of Eden for 7 years, tilling and keeping it. And we gave him work, and he instructed him to do everything that is suitable for tillage. So, yes, in that year, in the 50th year, is when he was created. But that was the second time that he was created, not the first time. So yes. So that's what's interesting to note. So that shows that during the time before, that very well that could be the time that he was with Lilith, which would make more sense now. So then I wanted to show you this. Okay, at the completion of 7 years, which would have been the 57th year, at the completion of the 57th year, which would then mean that he was created on the first day of the 7th month, the second time around. Because it says years exactly. See how it says that right here? Years exactly. So then we go further. I wanted to show you that there's a 40 days that is involved in this. After, in Jubilees 3, 9, and 10, it says, and after Adam had completed 40 days in the land where he had been created, we brought him into the Garden of Eden to till and keep it. So after he was made, he was brought into the land after 40 days. So that's very interesting to note. If we look at us now, we might be brought into a special place also at that time that he was brought into the Garden of Eden. He was brought into the Garden of Eden 40 days after creation. That's what it says here. And then it explains that this is why those rules in Leviticus 12 about the 40 days after giving birth to a man-child, they are written as such. So that's what I wanted to share with you. Isn't that something? Just another tidbit that leads us to that 41st day of the passing of the first day of the 7th month. So will this upcoming 11th day of the 8th month be a 41st day in which something indeed happens to us? That's what we'll find out. God bless.